They weren't elected, they didn't create tech empires. Yet these powerful figures commanded fortunes worth billions, shaped entire cities, and influenced governments. From private islands to jewel-studded yachts, their world was built on influence, luxury, and unshakable authority. In this video, discover the only underground tycoon wealthier than Elon Musk himself. Anthony "Fat Tony" Salerno, the banker behind the power. He wasn't flashy, but Anthony "Fat Tony" Salerno was the financial architect behind one of the most discreet and influential organizations in American history. Operating from the shadows of East Harlem, he quietly built a vast enterprise, valued at over $600 million through high-stakes clubs, private lending operations, and full control of key unions. While others chased headlines, Fat Tony bought silence, with strategy, connections, and cash. His empire didn't rely on chaos. It ran through front-facing companies, real estate, construction firms, and parking syndicates, turning underground capital into legitimate wealth. His sharpest tools? Lawyers and officials. With the right people in the right places, his influence stretched from the Bronx to Wall Street. Without ever raising his voice, Salerno didn't need social media or the spotlight. His power lived in what he owned: custom suits, fortified town cars, luxurious homes, and a permanent seat at the Palmer Boys Social Club, a known gathering place for decision-makers. Even after a major legal trial in 1986 found him guilty, Fat Tony refused to turn on anyone or seek special treatment. In his world, loyalty was priceless, and silence pure gold. When he passed away in 1992, he left behind more than money. He left behind a blueprint for how influence, strategy, and discretion could quietly shape a city. Comment: Fat Tony ran New York if you respect the silent power of strategy. Michele Zaza, the smuggler king of Europe. He wasn't born into power, he worked his way there. Michele Zaza, known across Europe as the Smuggler King, turned banned goods and illicit trade into a $700 million empire that outmaneuvered borders, governments, and even rival underworld networks. While other figures fought for territory, Zaza controlled shipping routes like a multinational CEO with a hidden agenda. Operating out of Naples, he turned the Mediterranean into his personal expressway, transporting millions of dollars worth of restricted merchandise weekly through ports in Italy, France, and Spain. But Zaza wasn't just a backroom dealer. He owned luxury villas on the Amalfi Coast, multiple yachts docked along the Riviera, and threw opulent parties attended by politicians, celebrities, and high-ranking businessmen. He dressed like a monarch, partied like a pop star, and moved cash like a banker. Zaza's genius? He built real relationships with Italy's economic and political elite. He wasn't feared for violence, he was respected for his influence. His ties with powerful southern networks made him nearly untouchable for decades. And his charm? Equally dangerous. He knew when to negotiate, when to apply pressure, and when to disappear. Eventually, his empire caught up with him. Italian prosecutors finally tied him to a web of offshore accounts and confidential dealings. But by then, his legend had already been written in gold, engraved in the Mediterranean's underground history. Griselda Blanco, the queen of the underground trade. She was the queen of the scene before the world had ever heard of Pablo Escobar. Griselda Blanco, known as the godmother of the underground, didn't just break the rules, she rewrote them. Born into poverty in Colombia, she clawed her way to the top of one of the world's most dangerous shadow industries, commanding Miami's secret network with an iron fist and a legacy stained in fear. At her peak, Griselda's enterprise was worth over $2 billion, built on strategy, intimidation, and staggering ambition. She moved tons of restricted substances into the US each month, using everything from fake pregnancy bellies to lingerie sewn with hidden tubes. But her real weapon? Her mind. She ran operations tighter than most corporations, managing critical decisions like boardroom memos and negotiating deals that made Wall Street look tame. Her taste for luxury was as fierce as her leadership. Griselda lived in multi-million-dollar mansions covered in marble and gold, rode in armored limousines, and hosted extravagant parties where diamonds were given away like souvenirs. One of her homes featured a custom-built swimming pool shaped like a machine, a chilling tribute to her command style. But don't confuse indulgence with vulnerability. Blanco was reportedly linked to over 200 targeted eliminations, many carried out in broad daylight using motorcycle teams, a tactic that became her signature. She inspired fear throughout Miami's hidden network, removing rivals and betrayers without hesitation. Eventually, her empire crumbled, but not quietly. She served prison time, disappeared from the spotlight, then met her end at age 69, ambushed by two individuals on a motorcycle in Medellin, Colombia. In death, as in life, she remained a legend of paradox, part fashion icon, part symbol of ruthless control. El Chapo Guzman, the tunnel mastermind. He wasn't just a figure of the underworld, he was a master strategist of evasion who turned the world's attention underground. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the notorious head of Mexico's Sinaloa network, wasn't only worth an estimated $14 billion, he operated one of the most complex and far-reaching underground enterprises in modern history. What made El Chapo so feared wasn't just his global influence, it was his uncanny ability to remain unreachable. He didn't flee from the law, he outmaneuvered it, twice. His most legendary disappearance? A mile-long tunnel carved beneath a high secular facility, complete with air vents, lighting, and even a motorcycle on rails. It sounded fictional, but it was entirely real. While nations invested billions in border security, El Chapo moved beneath it, literally conducting operations and evading capture with military precision. His reach stretched across 5 continents, with distribution routes running from Chicago to Hong Kong. Each year, his organization moved massive volumes of restricted goods, generating revenue that rivaled Fortune 500 companies. His lifestyle matched his legend. El Chapo owned expansive ranches, armored SUVs, a private zoo, and dozens of hidden residences, some inside mountains, others under cities. One safe house featured hydraulic beds that lifted to reveal secret tunnel access, an architect of paranoia and precision. But eventually, the system closed in. After years of international tracking and betrayals, he was apprehended and transferred to the US, where he remains under maximum security conditions. No tunnels, no escape routes, no second chances. Still, his legacy endures, a symbol of how secrecy, engineering, and sheer will can reshape the world's darkest corridors. Comment, Tunnel King, if you believe no one dug deeper into power than El Chapo. Susumu Ishii, the Yakuza investor. He wasn't your typical underground figure. Susumu Ishii didn't just lead a shadow network, he quietly became one of Japan's most influential investors. While others in similar circles flaunted excess and bravado, Ishii wore custom suits and studied market trends. His weapon of choice? The Tokyo Stock Exchange. In the 1980s, as Japan's economy skyrocketed, Ishii transformed hidden capital into a sophisticated financial empire. He directed over $1 billion through complex real estate ventures, front-facing corporations, and high-sea corporation trades. One Tokyo office tower alone was worth $150 million, acquired not through threats, but through briefcases of cash and high-level relationships. He merged street routes with financial ambitions so seamlessly that many in Japan's elite didn't even realize who they were dealing with. Bankers, brokers, even politicians attended his galas, mistaking him for a traditional tycoon. His portfolio spanned luxury residential towers, golf resorts, and undisclosed holdings in international companies. It was a facade, yet an incredibly profitable one. Ishii redefined the image of underground leadership. Less confrontation, more calculation. His enterprise thrived not only on influence, but on intellect. He operated like a corporate CEO, complete with legal advisors, strategic planners, and financial consultants. This wasn't street crime. This was white-collar dominance. Despite the polished image, many sources traced the original funds to traditional underground activities. But once funneled through real estate trusts and offshore entities, the capital gleamed with legitimacy. Eventually, stricter regulations and mounting scrutiny forced his empire to contract. But his legacy remains. Susumu Ishii proved that an underground network could become a financial powerhouse, silently, elegantly, and almost legally on paper. Al Capone, the original kingpin, he wasn't just a figure from the underground. Al Capone was America's first celebrity outlaw. While others stayed hidden, Capone dominated the headlines. During the Prohibition era, he transformed underground liquor networks and speakeasies into an enterprise worth over $1.3 billion in today's money. Chicago was his domain, and every bar, club and street corner operated under his influence. But here's what made Capone different. He combined intimidation with public generosity. Yes, he oversaw secret liquor operations, enforced by loyal enforcers, but he also opened soup kitchens during the Great Depression, feeding thousands. To many struggling Americans, he was a modern-day Robin Hood in a silk suit. His mansion in Miami Beach wasn't just luxurious, it was fortified. Outfitted with hidden passageways, reinforced doors and private security, it cost $40,000 at the time, equivalent to over $700,000 today. He rode in custom Cadillacs and wore designer suits, even during moments of public tension or political negotiation. Capone's reach in Chicago was unmatched. He built influence through connections with police, judges, and even city leaders, ensuring his network remained untouched. At his peak, he earned $100 million a year, largely from discreet entertainment venues and high-demand services behind jazz clubs and candy shops. And yet, he welcomed the spotlight. He smiled for reporters, posed for cameras, and handed out Christmas gifts. He wanted admiration as much as authority. But fame couldn't protect him forever. In 1931, federal agents finally took him down, not for violence, but for tax charges. He served 11 years in Alcatraz, and when he returned, the world had changed. Matteo Messina Denaro, the invisible billionaire. He was the ghost king of the underworld. Matteo Messina Denaro, long referred to as the last shadow ruler, operated from behind the scenes, yet controlled an empire estimated at over $4 billion. For nearly 30 years, he evaded every European law enforcement agency, blending intimidation with enterprise like a master strategist. While most powerful figures sought attention, Denaro vanished from view. No social media, no photos, no public trail. Yet behind closed doors, he lived like a phantom billionaire. He quietly acquired vineyards, supermarkets, and even wind farms, using them to channel vast sums of money while appearing fully legitimate. In Sicily, stories about Denaro were the stuff of legend. Locals spoke his name only in whispers. His influence allegedly touched judicial figures, security officers, and families, casting a long and chilling shadow. Yet he remained invisible. His wealth expanded through business networks across Europe, often under aliases and hidden ownership structures. At the peak of his reach, entire towns functioned under his control. Mayors, bankers, and developers all operated within a web of silent allegiance. His portfolio included luxury estates, valuable art collections, and discreet offshore accounts moving millions each month. Even his health added to the mystery. Diagnosed with a serious illness, he reportedly used multiple identities to receive private medical care, slipping past authorities. It wasn't until 2023 that Italian authorities finally located him inside a clinic in Palermo. After decades of elusiveness, the Phantom was captured without resistance. Denaro wasn't just a figure of control, he was a master of invisibility, a tactician of quiet domination, and proof that one can build a vast empire without ever stepping into the spotlight. Comment Ghost King if Denaro's hidden world left you speechless. Francesco Schiavone, the Underworld CEO. They called him the Underground CEO for a reason. Francesco Schiavone, also known as Sandokan, wasn't just a figure in the shadows. He was a relentless strategist who built a covert empire worth $47 billion. His method? Discipline, not chaos. Unlike the flamboyant figures of the past, Schiavone operated like a corporate executive, holding strategic meetings, using encrypted communication, and operating from an underground bunker complete with hidden tunnels. While his associates maintained control in the field, Schiavone directed operations with cold precision. His wealth was staggering. Through construction contracts, many tied to public infrastructure, he moved millions through shell corporations. Lavish villas, private estates, fleets of high-ended cars, and foreign bank accounts were just the beginning. One of his grand homes reportedly had an escape tunnel concealed beneath a marble fireplace. He held sway over entire municipalities. Politicians, contractors, and even enforcement officials reportedly acted in alignment with his directives. The Casalesi network extended into everything from waste management and construction approvals to medical infrastructure. Legitimate businesses became the face of the operation, quietly moving funds across Europe with expert precision. What made him truly feared was his silence. Schiavone rarely raised his voice, but when he spoke, regents listened. Arrested in 1998, he still managed to influence operations from prison for years, using strict internal structure and loyal channels. It took years of surveillance, coordinated operations, and insider cooperation to finally disrupt his system. This wasn't a street operator. This was a shadow executive whose empire in size and structure rivaled that of multinational corporations. Darko Saric, the Balkan power broker of the shadows. Imagine a man who built a $27 billion global network without ever holding public office. Darko Saric, often referred to as the Balkan power broker, transformed illicit logistics into a cross-continental operation that rivaled Fortune 500 companies in scale and structure. He didn't just transport goods. He orchestrated a transatlantic distribution chain with precision akin to military operations. Saric's rise began quietly in Montenegro, but soon expanded to Serbia, Colombia, Uruguay, and Italy. Utilizing private fleets of custom aircraft and ships, he reportedly moved up to 5 tons of high-value cargo per route, each load worth hundreds of millions. His earnings funded a life of luxury: private islands in the Adriatic, super yachts, villas in Uruguay, and a gold-trimmed mansion in Belgrade. But Saric wasn't just about opulence. He functioned like a corporate tycoon. His organization channeled funds through banks, real estate ventures, and holding companies in Panama and Cyprus. Financial incentives flowed strategically to ensure smooth movement through ports and legal systems. In some towns across the Balkans, his influence reportedly outweighed even local authorities. His team included ex-military personnel, cybersecurity experts, and legal advisors. He developed encrypted communication systems, leveraged telecom insiders, and used shell corporations to shield operations. His reach wasn't just expansive, it was nearly invisible. The breakthrough came when authorities intercepted 2.7 tons of his cargo off Uruguay's coast. After years evading capture, he surrendered in 2014, yet continued to exert influence from behind bars. It wasn't until 2023 that he was officially convicted in Serbia, marking the end of a reign that blurred the line between empire and enterprise. Saric was a rare combination of ambition, secrecy, and strategy. A shadow magnate who blended tactical discipline with vast financial command to shape the unseen world. Power, control, and unimaginable wealth. These underground tycoons proved that fortunes aren't only made on Wall Street. With fleets of yachts, gold-covered estates, and circles of unwavering followers, they lived grander than kings. But in the end, even the mightiest dynasties collapse. From billion-dollar networks to isolated cells, their journeys stand as cautionary tales wrapped in luxury. If you were stunned by how these hidden world elites rivaled the globe's top earners, you're not the only one. Hit like if their power amazed you. Subscribe for more jaw-dropping billionaire stories, and comment Empire Legends if you believe that high-stakes power comes at a high price.